Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be sitting down and chatting with you guys today about makeup. This is actually the first video that I'm filming since we got back from Cancun, so I'm just excited to chat with you guys about some new makeup releases. I wanted to film a video like this before we left, but I just ran out of time. So I hope I'm not too late to the game chatting about some of these new makeup products, but I still wanted to share them with you guys and let you know whether I'll be purchasing them or passing on them. And of course, I would love to hear your thoughts. In this video, I'm going to go through only eyeshadow palettes again because a lot of you seem to like my last purchase or pass video where I just focused on eyeshadow palettes. But after this one, I'll probably get back to it and start chatting about all new makeup releases just in general. So let's jump into it and start chatting about the products. Okay, so let me start with the products that most likely I will end up purchasing. The first thing is from Too Faced. So they released a sneak peek of their new Then and Now eyeshadow palette. I don't know if that's the official name. It's kind of like a throwback palette mixed with some new formulas and new shadows, and it sounds really interesting. And I know people give Too Faced a hard time. Like, people love to hate on Too Faced, and I get it because I feel like, you know, their marketing doesn't appeal to everybody, their collections don't appeal to everybody, and that's totally fine. But I will say that I've tried quite a few Too Faced palettes over the last year or two, and I really only come across like one palette that I wouldn't consider the highest quality. But in general, I feel like their quality has been really, really good and really consistent lately. So I personally am interested in trying out new Too Faced products, especially because they've kind of slowed down the releases. Now, there are a couple of things about this palette that would probably hold me back. I think that it's interesting that they did the original 1998 shadow colors. They said they updated the formula. It's like a modern formula, but then they did 10 shadows that are kind of inspired by them. So when you look at the palette, there are a couple of shadows in here that look almost identical or look like repeat shades, but I saw the comments that a lot of people aren't into palettes that have like round pans and square pans in the same palette, and I totally get it. I wonder if this palette's going to be part of like a larger collection because it is celebrating their 20th anniversary, so I guess we'll see. They did say that it smells like birthday cake, so if you are completely over the scented palette thing from Too Faced, this probably is not going to be the one for you. I just enjoy their shadows lately, and I can't wait to try out this one. So I plan to talk about this palette in a video that I wanted to film before we left for our trip, and I just ran out of time. And then when I was looking up more information about it last night to prepare for this video, I saw that it's actually sold out, and they said they are not planning on restocking it. So I don't know if that's the case because, as we know, brands tend to say that, but they tend to do something different, and they will restock it as many times as possible. I've never purchased from Dominique Cosmetics before, so I don't exactly know how they work with limited edition products, but they released this Gemini eyeshadow palette, which was available for $58. And this palette looks really interesting because there are soft warm neutrals and cooler olive tones, and it looks really gorgeous. Honestly, I do have, like, obviously those neutral shadows in my collection, but the olive shadows, that yellow, they just look so interesting and so beautiful. And I was looking on the Dominique Cosmetics Instagram page, and the looks that people were creating with this palette were amazing and so, so beautiful. So I am really annoyed by the fact they said they're not restocking it. If a brand calls something limited edition, I can kind of respect that they actually make it a limited edition product rather than bringing it back over and over. But at the same time, I just wish they would have a larger quantity available when they release it if they're going to hype it up so much. I don't know, I feel kind of torn about that. Like, I want the palette, and if they restock it, I am going to buy it. But if you guys have any good like olive shadow recommendations in the meantime, please let me know in the comments below. Okay, so moving on to two palettes that I might possibly purchase. It depends on how they swatch, if I decide that I actually need them. Sometimes I think that I want to buy something, and then if I just wait a little while, I kind of lose interest in them. So I guess we'll see about these palettes and whether or not they catch my eye when they're actually released. Okay, so the first one is from Urban Decay. It is their new Born to Run eyeshadow palette. This one retails for $49, and it's going to be available in July. It comes with 21 different shadows, and it looks like there's a good mix of matte and shimmer shadows, and then also some warm and cooler tone shades as well. I will say that a lot of people kind of are drawn to the packaging, and the packaging is what is not interesting to me. I just feel like Urban Decay does some really cool and fun and interesting packaging, but the black packaging is a little bit boring to me. But I could see how, you know, that would appeal to people who aren't into like super colorful packaging or anything too out of the box, because they have been doing some, I guess, different things with their packaging. Like the Heavy Metals palette was a little bit weird. The new Why am I struggling with the name? Like the new Beach palette's kind of interesting. There was another one, oh, the Back Talk palette. So I feel like they've been going a little bit out of the box with their packaging. So maybe it's kind of nice to come back to like more simple packaging. I don't think I really need this palette because I do have other colors like this in my collection. I feel like I just talked myself out of this palette. It was on my possibly list and now I just don't know if I need it now that I'm looking at all of the shadows in here. But I don't know, I guess we'll see once the actual palette is released. So what do you guys think of this palette? But the new Violet Voss eyeshadow palette immediately caught my eye. This one comes in lighter packaging and the colors are beautiful. I don't know if they have a lot of colorful palettes. From what I've seen, they've been very neutral or very like bright warm tone shadows. And this one obviously has a lot of brighter warm tone shadows, but they're a little bit lighter. There are just so many gorgeous colors in this palette. I think in general, their palettes retail for like $45. So again, there's not a release date or a price, but I'm assuming it's going to be around the same price. I just hope they release it soon because this palette screams summer to me, and obviously you can wear whatever you want any time of the year, but I do tend to change up my makeup seasonally, so during the spring and summer is when I would typically wear colors like this. Not that you can't wear them during the winter time, I just know me personally. So I hope they do release it soon because I would love to wear it all summer long. But I haven't tried Violet Voss shadows, so if you guys have tried them, please let me know what you think in the comments below. Are they powdery? Are they pigmented? Are they blendable? I feel like I've heard good things about them when I hear about them, but at the same time, I don't hear about them super often. So I would love to hear your thoughts. Okay, so let me finish up with the products that I'm going to pass on. I probably will not end up buying these products. So the first one is not technically an eyeshadow palette. This is actually a face palette, but I wanted to include it in this video because this product actually did catch my eye, to be honest with you guys. But if I'm thinking like really thinking about whether or not I need this product in my collection, the truth is that I do not. It is from Becca and it is their Be a Light face palette. So they actually have two different options. This is available now on Becca's website and Sephora's website and also in Sephora stores. It is a limited edition product that retails for $46. So you get 4 different products in this palette. You get a brightening powder, a blush, a contour, and a blurring powder. Their blushes, bronzers, and highlighters are some of my all-time favorite products. So I was kind of interested to try out like these light diffusing powders. They're supposed to visibly minimize imperfections and even the look of your skin tone. They're supposed to be like sheer and natural and buildable, and they kind of reminded me of like an Hourglass product. I don't generally reach for face palettes very often, whether they come with like highlights, blushes, bronzers, face powders. I just feel like they take up space in my collection and I don't end up using them. And even if I do end up using them, there are always like 1 or 2 products in the palette that I don't end up reaching for. Another thing about this palette that kind of just makes me, I don't know, like the blush and the bronzer in here are small. Like they're shaped a little bit weird, and I haven't seen this palette in person, so maybe it's a little bit larger, it'll be easier to use, but I feel like whenever it's hard to like use a product, like okay, I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself. Whenever a product is shaped a little bit differently or it makes it a little bit more difficult to actually use the product, it's just an instant turn off for me. I wish that the blush and the bronzer were full size and that they had like 1 brightening powder in there and it was just like a trio, because then I think I might end up buying it. But the fact that there are 2 powders that are pretty similar and the blush and the bronzer are smaller, I don't know, it kind of makes me think that I don't need it. Okay, so let me talk about the Dominique Cosmetics Lemonade palette. So I'm just talking about the palette. I think it's amazing that she created a makeup line and has palettes available at Ulta. I think that is so cool, but I'm personally just talking about the actual palette because sometimes people get a little bit annoyed if I say I'm not going to buy a YouTuber's product. But I mean, to be honest with you guys, I can't buy them all, and just because they're YouTubers doesn't make it a good reason to buy the product if I'm personally not interested in it. I believe Trend Mood said that it's going to be available in June, and Dominique Cosmetics is sold online and at Ulta. So it is a little bit more easily accessible, which is great. I think if you are into like pastel, shimmer, or metallic shadows, this might be a great option for you. I like how there are yellows, pinks, and peaches, and I feel like in general, it kind of fits the lemonade theme well for the most part. Maybe not like the green shadow or like the blue shadow, but I feel like the yellows, the peaches, the pinks are the majority of this palette. But at the same time, I feel like those bolder matte shadows in the bottom left-hand corner are kind of random in this palette. Like, I feel like you probably need something to kind of create a little bit of depth and dimension. It can't just be like a completely light shimmery palette. It could be, but that wouldn't really appeal to everybody. So I get why they included some darker shadows to kind of, I guess, anchor the palette, as Emily Noel always talks about. But at the same time, it kind of throws me off, and I feel like the palette loses its cohesiveness with those darker shadows. For me personally, I just don't look at this palette and see like a bunch of looks that I would love to do with it. So I'm personally going to skip over this one, but if any of you guys end up trying it, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. And the last palette that I want to talk about is from Lunar Beauty, which is Manny MUA's new makeup line. This one is the Life's a Drag eyeshadow palette, and it retails for $45. It is available now on Lunar Beauty's website, and to be honest with you guys, this was originally in my possibly list, but I kind of moved it down to my pass list because I thought about it honestly, and I don't know, I just feel like I probably won't end up spending my money on it. The reason why it was in my possibly list is because it looks like an interesting palette, and I think that, you know, for a new palette release, it's a little bit different. You get mainly neutral eyeshadows in this palette, but you also get a mix of like colorful, bright shadows, and I think it could be a fun option for you if you are mainly into neutral shadows, but you kind of want to branch out and try something a little bit brighter, a little bit more colorful, because you do get a couple of options in here to kind of switch up your look a little bit. It comes with 14 shadows, and you do get a dual-ended brush, so I feel like for the actual cost, you are getting a good variety and a good amount of options, but I feel like when I look closely at the swatches, it's a mainly matte eyeshadow palette, and I know a lot of people love mattes, and a lot of people don't buy palettes because there aren't enough mattes, but I'm more of like a shimmer metallic fan. I have my staple mattes, but I tend to reach for like metallic or shimmer shadows all over the lid more often and switch those up more than I do my matte shadows. That's one reason why I don't think I need it. Also, I do feel like I have a lot of those staple neutral colors in my collection. Again, I just don't know if I would get enough use out of this palette to justify the price tag. But that is the end of my video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to hear your thoughts on any new makeup releases or products or collabs. Let me know in the comments below. But I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.